As an aerospace engineer, accountability is baked into the role, which means that if you have an aircraft that's taking off tomorrow and it's going to be carrying a lot of passengers, it's safety critical. You have to make sure that your documentation is in on time, that it passes first time quality, because lives are on the line. And in that scenario, that high pressure where everything comes together, you got time awareness, internal accountability, fear of letting yourself down, fear of letting other people down, the external accountability, people observing you, management, or even your peers. All of that comes together and somehow you pull it out and you deliver on time and you meet safety requirements. Now, the challenge has been for me to replicate that in my personal life, in addition to everything else that I've learned along the way in my 35 some odd years. And I want to share that with you. So I would break it down into 3 categories, and that is the internal accountability, external accountability, and time awareness. Internal accountability is self-respect. That is ultimate. Self-value and self-respect. If you are letting yourself down, if you aren't doing something that is good for you, you do not value yourself highly enough. The next part would be imagining the best version of you and the worst version of you. So this stems from the idea of having something to run towards and something to run away from. You think of it in terms of both of them being your future self. Just one of them is the best version of you in the future, and one of them is the worst version of you in the future. Imagine yourself, let's just say 5 years from now, and you're doing everything that you could possibly do that is correct in order to get to where you want to go to. You're trying your absolute best. What would your life look like in 5 years' time if you were the absolute best version of yourself? And at the same time, imagine what would your life look like 5 years from now if you were the worst version of yourself, or if you just let it all go and just keep going with any of your bad habits. So then you have something to run towards, which is what motivates you forward, pulls you forward. And you have the fear of ending up like the worst version of yourself, and that is something to run away from. And that would be the hell on earth, which if you allow that to play out for the next 20, 30 years, would actually be like a living hell. And then the next part is self-judgment. So this for me in the earlier days was actually an external judgment. So I don't have a manager in my personal life, but I would imagine something like, oh, if Cristiano Ronaldo was in the room right there observing me 24/7, what would he think? Would any of the excuses that I make in my own mind hold up to this person's holding me accountable? So that became a little bit old. After a short period of time, I begin to value what I think about myself more than what other people think of me. So I can observe myself right now in the present moment, or I can imagine that myself in the future, the best version of me in the future, is observing me right now and judging me on anything that I don't do, that I should be doing, or that I do that I shouldn't be doing. And that internal judgment is very powerful. The last part of the internal accountability system is journaling to yourself with absolute honesty. So if you're 100% honest to yourself as you write about what you're thinking, what you want, what have you done so far, what have you done right and wrong, and if you just do it as honestly as possible, then you will tease out what needs to be done in order to get to where you want to get to. The second part of my accountability system is the external part, which I will break down into A and B. A is social, which is passive, and B is interpersonal, which is active. So social accountability is like being in a library. It's passive. You don't talk to the people around you, but you're in the presence of other people. For me, I use something called Study With Me. It's a Discord server, and I could just pop in there. I'm in a public virtual library, and I know that other people can look at me if they want to. And so I'm more likely to just keep going with my work. And so that is obviously very passive. You could be just playing a game if you really wanted to. If you wanted to sneak a game and no one's going to know because you're on your laptop or you're on your phone or whatever it is. But there's some external judgment that is there. And if you have the interest to make that environment worthwhile for other people, then you won't be there getting up to mischief. For example, you're not going to go into a library and make a bunch of noise and play music loud and all that sort of stuff. You feel like a sense of responsibility to make that environment worthwhile for other people as well. And it also ties into being in the office, just being in that environment where other people are around you. It makes you feel like you need to get your work done, you're less likely to watch Netflix if you're in the office because you have the external judgment factor. The second part of external accountability is interpersonal, which is active. So this is where you reach out to somebody to create a accountability buddy partnership, accountability partner, which I've done recently, and it has worked quite effectively. Incidentally, I met this person on FocusMate, which is another platform which is a hybrid social and interpersonal, because what it does is it pairs you up with random people. And for that 25-minute or 50-minute session, you talk to them and say, you know what, this is what I'm going to do for the next 25, 50 minutes. And then it now becomes an interpersonal accountability. So for that period of time. And anyway, from there, we saw that we had similar goals, and YouTube was one of them. And so we've kept in touch, and we check in every Sunday, and we hold each other accountable. In fact, that's the reason why I'm doing this video, because I'm going to have to talk to him 2 days from now and tell him that I managed to push out a YouTube video this week. Yeah, there you go. And the second part to this interpersonal or active part of external accountability is my girlfriend. So if I am just in her presence doing my work, it's being observed by somebody who you know, and somebody who expects you to get your work done because they believe in you and they've invested in you. That gives you interpersonal pressure. And I also like to imagine my future children observing me day to day. So not just while I'm working, but just day to day. How do I want to show up? How do I want them to observe me? And again, that would be interpersonal accountability. But just that now it's imaginary. The third part to this entire accountability system is time awareness. This is something that gets me very excited. I love the idea of being hyper aware of how much of time is remaining. The idea of life being finite, it just gets me going. To me, it's not morbid at all. In fact, it makes the limited time that we have just jam-packed with value, because it means that we have to make the most of it. First thing is wear a watch or just have a clock around to be aware of what the time is. It is mind-blowing. I did not realize, this is going to sound really silly, I did not realize just how much more aware of the time I would be if I just wore a watch. I know that sounds ridiculous, but you think you're aware of the time until you wear a watch. And then you become hyper-aware of the passage of time. And in fact, I like wearing a watch. I don't have it on right now, but it feels as if, okay, this is my time. It's on my person. It's my time. I choose how I want it to be spent. I don't choose whether I want it to be spent. Time will be spent constantly. You choose how you want it to be spent. So think about that. It's like having a bank account. And let's just say the number of dollars that you have is the number of seconds that you have in your life. Okay. And every second that dollar is spent, it's spent. Now you get to choose whether that dollar is thrown into the bin or whether it's spent on something fruitful, something that is going to move you in the direction that you want to move in your life, that is going to result in a fulfilling life. Okay. That's the first part. Wear a watch, be aware of the time. And the second part is set countdown timers. I've got a 3-year countdown timer that's running at the moment. It's right now sitting at 959 days. Quite a number of days have already passed since I set that 3-year countdown timer, and I have a few key goals that I want to achieve within that period of time. And I'm hyper aware of that. That is a desktop on my Mac dedicated to just that countdown timer. And it counts down by the second. So whenever I feel like, time is going and I'm uncertain, what should I be doing? That's okay, I can waste another hour or two. Then I look at that, at the number of seconds ticking down. And you're hyper aware that time is actually passing. So the last one is have a plan, have a calendar. It is amazing how much more you will try to get done and how much more you will do. And with that plan, what I would say is, one thing I've been caught up with recently is, in the middle of executing a plan, you can start to doubt yourself and think, oh my God, I'm doing this. It's so much of effort. Is this actually going to get me to my goal? Maybe I should pivot right now. Maybe I should rethink my plan right now. And you just keep rethinking. What I would say is plan for a chunk of time, like a week. So plan the week and then execute that week. with absolute determination, and then allow yourself a short period of time at the end of that week to review that plan. So now what you're doing is you're not doubting yourself along the way. You're planning, and then you're executing, and then you can review that, and that's totally fine. And if you just continue doing that, you're going to move towards your goal because you just keep course correcting and you will move in the right direction, ultimately. So there you have it. That's my accountability system. And if you like that, you're probably going to like this other video that I have about the 0-day streak and how problematic I think that is for maintaining productivity. Are you still there?